Should you buy a camcorder or a mirrorless camera? Let's find out. For this comparison I'm using the Sony AX53 and the Sony ZV-E10. These cameras are about the same price, but one of them is a camcorder and the other one is a mirrorless camera. Both of them feel very nice and they are made from plastic, but they don't feel extremely cheap. And because it is plastic, that also means that the cameras can be lighter. For the grip, the AX53 has a nice hand strap, but the ZV-E10 has a small grip on the front, so you have to hold it like this. And the ZV-E10 grip is very small, so it is very uncomfortable in my opinion, especially for using it in a longer period of time. When we look at ports and buttons, they are about the same. The camcorder sadly has a lot less buttons compared to the ZV-E10, and that is very annoying when you want to adjust some settings. But luckily the ZV-E10 is very fast and easy to use, and the dials make it very easy to adjust settings. One downside of the ZV-E10 is that you can't switch white balance while you are recording. It also has a USB-C port, which is nicer compared to the older micro USB of the AX53. For battery life, the AX53 is a better option because it has options for small or large batteries, whereas the ZV-E10 has the battery inside of the grip, so it only has one size battery. And the battery life isn't terrible, but it's definitely not amazing. And the battery life of the AX53 is definitely much better in my opinion. Another nice thing about both is their screens. They have a touch screen and you can control the menu on the AX53 with a touch screen and the menu on the Sony ZV-E10 with the buttons, but I prefer the one with the buttons. It is faster and easier to use. The AX53 is kind of slow, but they both have screens that flip and the screen brightness on both models is also bright enough. The ZV-E10 doesn't have a viewfinder, whereas the AX53 does have one. However, the AX53 viewfinder is very bad in my opinion. When we look at autofocus speed, you can definitely see that the ZV-E10 is so much faster compared to the AX53. And it's one of the bigger downsides of the AX53. Especially when you are zoomed in, the autofocus of the AX53 isn't that fast. But as you can see, sometimes it doesn't even focus at all, whereas the mirrorless camera quickly focuses on it instantly. When we look at the lens, the AX53 has a fixed Zeiss lens with 20 times optical zoom, and the Sony ZV-E10 has a 16 to 50mm lens. And when we look at zoom, you can definitely see that the AX53 is so much better. It can zoom much further away. The zoom of the AX53 is slower, but it looks much nicer and smoother. And you can see that the large zoom definitely gives you a lot more versatility. However, keep in mind that the ZV-E10 has replaceable lenses, so you can also put another lens on it with a larger zoom. However, keep in mind that those lenses are much more expensive and also much bigger. The minimum focus distance of most camcorders is also so much better compared to most mirrorless cameras. They can focus really close and you can get some amazing macro shots. They both shoot slow motion in 1080p up to 100 FPS, and you can see that the slow motion looks really nice. However, the ZV-E10 has worse stabilization in the slow motion mode. Also, you can see that it has a little bit less detail, but it's not that much of a difference. However, the AX53 has worse dynamic range. You can see on the fountain that it's a little bit overexposed, whereas the mirrorless camera still has detail in it. When we go indoors or in lower lighting conditions, you can definitely see a big advantage in the ZV-E10. It has a much sharper image that looks a lot cleaner, so less noise. There is also a low lux mode on the AX53, and if you turn it on, it will become a lot brighter, but there will also be a lot more noise. And you can definitely see that the detail on the mirrorless camera is a lot better. Here's a walking shot and you can see that the stabilization is decent on both of them. However, the ZV-E10 has some weird artifacts and it doesn't look very nice in my opinion. And when you zoom in while walking, obviously both of them aren't that great. However, you can see that the AX53 definitely looks a lot more stable. Also, the AX53 doesn't have full manual control, which can be a little bit annoying. When you zoom in with the AX53, the zooming noise is very quiet and you can't hear it in the recordings. However, the ZV-E10 makes a lot of noise when zooming in. When we move the camera fast, you can see that the ZV-E10 has a lot more rolling shutter. Also in this shot you can see that the AX53 looks sharper, whereas the ZV-E10 looks a bit more cinematic in my opinion. And you can also see that the ZV-E10 has a bit more of a background blur compared to the AX53. So, should you get a camcorder or a mirrorless camera? I think it depends on what you are doing. If you are shooting cars, for example, then you need a large amount of zoom, so then a camcorder is a better option. It also has options for a larger battery, a much more close focus distance, better grip in your hand. However, if you want a nice blurry background, better low light performance and the ability to change lenses, then a mirrorless camera is a better option. And here is a longer list why you would choose one over the other. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.